welcome to Real Estate with Ryan, and thank you for tuning in on a Saturday in the studios, talking a little real estate, Memorial Day edition. It's the holiday. If I'm going to have a holiday, got to be with you guys. Weekend, boat time, a little holiday. So excited to bring you Real Estate with Ryan. Thought about it. I said, well, I could always do a rerun. We could mail it in on the holiday. Nobody know the difference. But I said, you know what? No shortcut to a championship. If it's the holidays, why not spend some time with you guys? So I know you're busy, maybe out in the lakes, spending time with the family. That's what it's all about. Maybe you're doing a little house hunting. It's the time of the year. It's starting into the summer season. So you may be looking at that. We're going to talk about that and so much more. We got a really good show for you. But before we start our show and tell you what it's about, we're going to have some congrats. Before I start this show, so much has gone on this week. Obviously, you know, it's Memorial Day. I'd like to first start out and thank all of our veterans and all our service members for all that they've done to protect this great country. It still is the home of the free, right? It's still home of the free and the brave. And we're so proud of all our members of service that have past and present fought for our country. It means so much. You take it for granted, some of the freedoms that we have, and you think about it, but you can see it more prevalent now than we've ever seen it in years. And so this holiday, as we have time with our friends, family, and so much going on, you know, we're thankful to have those freedoms from all our service members. So from all my clients, past, present, and all you listeners out there, we thank you for your service. It means the world to you, and we want to just know how much we appreciate you this weekend. Also, some tragic news in Texas this week. I won't go much into that, but April, all of my team at Hometown Realty, our prayers are with all the families and law enforcement and everybody that is dealing with everything in Texas. So prayers and thoughts with all the families this week. Been a tough week. And just know that we're praying and thinking about you guys. Okay, so we'll get into the show. We got some congrats before we get started. And I want to talk about this great show. And I think it's a great show because we don't talk about it as much. So we've got a property that we're renovating, working on. It's a project. And it's an older home. You say, Ryan, it's a historic home built in 1900s. Well, when you see in the tax records, it says 1900s-ish. They have a little ish to it, meaning I don't really know. After 1900, they just stopped counting. Could be 18 something. Who really knows? So that's older. So yeah, that's really older. And we've actually got a lot of properties that we've dealt with over the years. A lot of historic properties that we've helped sell. But right now I've got 4 or 5 clients that we're helping. 2 or 3 coming on the market that are historic. You know, one in Clinton, one in Philadelphia. And then we have some in Knoxville, obviously, as well. And so we've got some different properties. So I figured, why not have a story? Why not have a show on historic properties? So if you're going to buy a historic home, what do you need to know? What is a historic home? We're going to cover that. And then what's the difference between a historic home and then maybe now a resale, maybe the modern look and different styles, some things you need to know. If you do an inspection, we're going to cover all that with Real Estate with Ryan. So that's what our show's about. Got some congrats to my great clients. Kings Hill Boulevard, brand new on the market. Make sure you check that out. 293 Little Mountain Way with some acreage and a separate cabin for that investment property out in Townsend. New listing 410 Black Oak Ridge Road in Seymour. Beautiful views, basement, spacious floor plan. That just hit the market this weekend. All these properties, you can check them out at ryancoleman.org. Great client on Brown Avenue, went under contract, and Spoon Hollow sold. So let's talk about this show. And so thankful you guys are with us on a holiday, man. And if you're missing it and you're in the car, maybe you're doing something, that's okay. We're on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media channels, right? Channels you can find us, we're going to restream this. And so if you catch us on the replay, no worries. And if you happen to be in the car, don't forget our Apple and our iTunes. Is it iTunes, Nick? Nick is the man. He's iTunes, this, that. I can't keep them all straight. Apple Play, Google Play. I can't keep them straight, man. It's, I got to have these young whippersnappers over here, these millennials that are up top on the technology. They're changing ever so often. It seems like it's daily in our industry, but in TikTok and all that stuff. If you can think about it, we're on there. And we got these shows for you, so I hope you enjoy them. Listen, as we approach the summer months and before we get into the show, RyanColeman.org. All your real estate needs. We got some of the latest blogs up to date on the information on the real estate market, and our home evaluation tool, which is very, very popular in the last couple of weeks. People are getting ready for the summer. It's going to be the busiest time of the year. And if you're thinking about starting that move and you're not ready just to call me out or not really ready to talk to us yet, that's okay. RyanColeman.org will give you an instant value on your home, give you an idea and range of what it's worth. And when you're closer and ready for that move, call me. Our great clients on Brown Avenue did that, and we sold theirs in record time, and then we're selling another property for you. So let's talk about what is a historic home or an older home. Well, a historic home obviously meets the 50-year requirements, that it's 50 years old, and it's highly important because certain homes like that have historic places and they're in a registry, all right? And then there's certain tax credits and things that you can get with a historic home, maybe even some lower income interest loans that may be possible for the property. Now, if you're an investor, maybe you're going to invest in a historic home, some tax credits, you need to know these things. So integrity is another thing that we're going to look at. It looks at the time of construction, the degree of original character, and the historic material. So if you ever looked at properties that are in historic zones, those are very key because watch out. If you think you're going to go in and put some vinyl siding or want to change the decor, well, you have to keep it in the historic guidelines. And there is no federal registry, so there's going to be state, local municipalities, and you want to keep up with them to make sure that you're in guidelines because the fines are pretty hefty if you're not keeping up that historic area. Most jurisdictions really do not have that level, as I was saying, federal. But they do have the National Register. So make sure we do check with that. What is determined if a historic home or older home is good for you guys? Unlike other home buying experiences, you fall in love with it because of the historic charm, the character. The rooms weren't as large back then. One of the things that I like about some of the properties that we're renovating and some of my great clients' homes is they have those beautiful fireplaces that are there. Intricate trim work throughout the home. The floors are usually beautiful. The trim, you ever notice the trim? It's not the little crown molding or the little inky dinky. It's real hefty, 36 inches, 48 inches high. Stairs are beautiful. There's just a lot more detail in these homes. Give it a lot more character. And it's so important when you're buying a historic home that yes, there'll be some smaller rooms, there'll be some carved newel posts, maybe the floors will have a little bit of wave to them, but it's that charm, that character that really adds the value to that property. Some things that I think maybe would probably kind of help you when you're buying a historic home. It's not so much about those things. Sometimes it's about the neighborhood and the history behind the property. That history, it may have been in the Civil War. It may have been somebody famous's house. So find the history. It also may affect the value too. Some strong values there with some of those immeasurable opportunities and the charm of that. What's more importantly, that I think some of the things that we'll talk about in historic homes, what separates it, is really, it's a particular buyer. It's not for every buyer. You have to understand with an older home, there may be some more maintenance, there may be some more remodeling, things that you're going to need to do to that home versus a new home. But as every house has a buyer, right? I always tell everybody, we sell a lot of properties, we get a lot of houses on the market, and I always say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, no matter what, we may have a lot of people come in there and buyers are going to determine value. They're going to do the consumer shopping thing. They're going to shop. We like to shop. My wife likes to shop, likes to compare and shop online and all these different things, right? But the consumers are going to shop. And as much as they shop, no matter what, when it's all said and done, it's going to be one buyer for your home. Whether it's the highest buyer, the highest bid, maybe the buyer that we had several showings, it's the only person that made an offer. But that's their forever home. That's their buyer. And when we market properties, when we put homes on the market, that's what we're looking for. That's the goal. So there's always a buyer for every property. And our goal through our marketing and obviously our outreach is to find that buyer. So understand that with the historic home, if you're not prepared, if it's not what you're looking for, it could take over your life. Some of the remodeling could add up with lumber materials even skyrocketing. And of course, the shortages across the country, Those things are in effect, and you have to think about those because unfortunately some of the the cabinets that may be in Home Depot or your box stores may not be exactly what you're going to match and put in your property. So keep that in mind. Also get with an architect. Think about some things that you may want to design or do updates, but you may not cover over them all in one show. Running short, I can't even get through this segment, but stay with us. We got so much more on a historic property show, Older Homes. Stay tuned.
Knoxville and East Tennessee. The region is known for its rolling hills, rivers, and lakes. There's no better place to work, live, or raise a family. Home is where your story begins. Buying or selling your home is a big decision, and you need a real estate team you can trust.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty, your hometown experts. Whether you're buying or selling a home, let us develop a winning game plan for you.
Hometown Realty is East Tennessee's #1 real estate group and a proud sponsor of the Vols.
Your friend promised we wouldn't be homeless.
He promised. He's doing everything to fix it.
You need to call and have him fix it now.
Hey, man.
Found us a house.
No, not yet. Let me call you back. We're working on it.
Ryan Coleman with Hometown
He
Realty.
says he's doing the best he can do, honey.
Well, he's taking too long. I knew we should have gone with Ryan Coleman.
Choosing the right agent is never easy.
Call your hometown experts. We'll take care of all the details and make sure you don't get stuck in a motel. All right, guys, thanks for staying with us in the first part of the break. If you're tuning in, we're talking about historic homes, older homes, what you need to know, and what things you need to look out for. And we're in the second part of this segment. But as you know, as every segment that we have, you know what that means. It's that time. It's UT time. It's Vol time. It is our 60-second update with our Vol update with your Tennessee Realtor, proud sponsor of the Vols. All right, let's get at it, Nick. Let's go. All right. Vol sweep Mississippi State and close out the series. Our men's baseball team is now up against Vanderbilt, and we'll start that series. Just to mention the men, congratulations to our coach, Tony Vitello, SEC Coach of the Year for the men's baseball program. Outstanding job. Great coach. Then we got our men's basketball program. Signed another 4-star, Cade Phillips out of Alabama, 6'9". And then what we got left? Ladies softball team advances to the Super Regionals. Go Vols. As you know, proud sponsor of the Vols and your Tennessee Realtor. That's our 60-second update. Go Vols. All right, getting back to the show. All right, historic homes. You say, well, Ryan, it's an older home. It's going to need a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of update. Not always, not always. Where's the advantages of that? Well, historic homes as a history, you like that? A little history. As a history, have always carried their values, and if they're maintained well, usually sometimes sell higher than resales. There's something about a historic home with the character, and as I was telling you in the first part, the history. A lot of it comes down to the history. A lot of these guys, the people that buy properties, they're history nuts. They're buffs. They love the area. It's all an environment. It's a culture, and it's a lot to do with the property's history. And like I said in the first segment of the show, there's always a buyer for that particular property. And so history in the making. So in 2017, we had a Jobs Act, and there was a certain tax credit that you could apply. And now the best benefit of all may be long-term. Historic homes in popular location will result in a higher premium. With limited number of antique homes, purchasing one may provide a greater return on your investment. See, I didn't just come up with that. There is a higher return. And so there's something about these homes that we're listing that the first thing you want to do before putting a home in this market, and I know, guys, that the market still, with the interest rates rising a little bit, it's easy to think, oh, it's going to sell real quickly. You've got to have an expert that understands properties in a historic zone. You've got to have property agents that, agents that understand properties that there's certain things that buyers want to see in these properties, and the marketing has to be there to expose those and really focus on those. Because if you don't, there's a type of buyer there that may be willing to pay you more money, especially when we get into a bidding war. So keep that in mind when you're looking for an agent to sell your historic property. We always have challenges. I always like to be half full versus half empty glass, right? But there's always challenges with the older homes. We know it's going to come up. And we know some labor cost, skilled craftsmen, good luck finding anybody to work in today's market. Just a joke, but not really. I'm just being serious. So, if you got to find skilled craftsmen, unique custom trim, certain things that require for your older house, you just have to have patience. We have to understand that it's going to take a little longer. And, it's going to probably take double the time. But the end result, that old saying, no pain, no gain, it's going to be well worth it. Some of the most beautiful homes that I've seen, the one that we're about to list here in just a week, the flooring is gorgeous. And we've got one that's going to hit in Clinton. And it's just so cool. It's so cool. We don't have the big closets, but it just has so much of that character. You're going to want to love to see some of these properties. Sorry. I was thinking about problems. Well, that's the next page. But on some of these properties, there is opportunities in the market. We talked about tax credits. We talk about what's the opportunity to buy that. Well, Ryan, with everything costs rising, how much cash am I going to have to put into it? It's okay. We've got some programs for properties that need a little love, a little historic update. We got our FHA 203K program, really popular program. I don't think you see it as much in today's market, but I used to use it back in the day. Now, I'm really sounding old, but back in the day, our 203K program was very popular. It's a program where you put 3.5% down. It goes up to probably in Knoxville, I'm guessing the loan limit now, probably in the fours, maybe mid fours. Maybe it's higher than that, but I think it's probably mid fours. So it gives you a lot of purchasing power with limited down payment. We still have a really, really great rate, but there's two things with the home FHA 203K program is it allows you to roll your renovation costs into the loan. You've got a streamlined program that makes it very inexpensive, lower amount, or a full-on renovation. And some of those renovations you can do. And then the cool thing about it is, let's say that those renovations on your new historic home or older home are going to take a little time because of the backlog and skilled tradesmen and everything else that's going on in the market. No worries. You can roll 6 months of your payments into the loan. So very popular. And then there's some tax credits too. So a lot of advantages in buying an older home. Now let's get into some things that you're going to run into challenges. Older homes as a whole, what common issues? Number one thing, asbestos. You got to get into older home. You got to check your ceiling, your drywall before you start tearing off any kind of paneling or things like that. You got to watch out for asbestos. We all know what asbestos is. It's not anything good. It can enter your lungs and all that good stuff. So be careful. When in doubt, there's some home testing tips. Check it before you get into tearing walls and drywalls. If it's in that age, it's a possibility of having it, so you want to make sure you protect it. Now, also allocate for proper disposal of anything with that. Now, anything built prior to 1978, it's going to have some possibility of lead. So be careful on that. There's certain ways you can test it, or make sure you're painting to protect it as well. Now, our older homes, just keep in mind when you're looking for older homes, there's going to be some, I always say buyers, listen, there's going to be some compromises. There is, the newer homes have the perfect floors, everything's pristine, but the older homes have some of the most beautiful wood planks, but there might be a little bit of wave with it. You're not, some of the older homes, especially, 50 or 60 years older, they may have a little bit of settling. So you're not going to have perfect. You're going to have some imperfections in that property. But that's kind of what gives it uniqueness. So if you're going to go into a property and want the most perfect level floor, you're going to have to do some reinforcement. You're going to have to raise the subfloor up. You're going to have to do a little adjusting. So allocate that into your property budget. Okay. So let's talk about electrical. Back then was popular with the knob and tube wiring. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I think I've seen it a couple times, but property we have, I don't believe, has that. But we did upgrade the electrical. We upgraded the electrical panel. That's so big. Back in the day, they used to use fuses. So those little fuses that you screw in there, but they're just not designed in today's capacity with our electronics, our flat screens, even some of the HVAC and things like that could be potential fire hazards and things like that. So if it's an older home, if it has the wiring, you really want to look at possibilities of upgrading the panel box at a minimum. And then the older property, you may have to redo the whole wiring. Also may want to get into the plumbing. We'll talk about that. But keep that in mind. So even if there's a panel box updated, but maybe the wiring's just not hefty. I say hefty enough to cover the electrical use that you're going to use. May have to update that. Ungrounded outlets. You're going to see those in older homes. You're going to have the 2 or 3 holes. May not hit some of the devices that you want to use, especially, they're especially not going to have a Bluetooth thing. They didn't make that back then. So you're not going to have your little Bluetooth button. That's one of my favorite buttons in my house. But keep that in mind. You can change these out. Get with a great electrician when you're going to look at a property. You're doing an inspection, get a bid. See what these things are going to cost before you close on it. Get an idea. And then, of course, I think one of the most, overlooked items that come down to play, you get excited about your historic home and all these things you're going to do to it and the budget, and we got our loan set up, and then guess what? We've got to get our insurance. Because ultimately, if we don't have insurance on the property, bank's not going to give us the loan. And so the insurance knows that the older homes are a potential claim nightmare. So they're going to watch the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, more specifically the roofing. Okay. And the last thing is go over our roofing. They're going to watch all those things. You're going to pay a higher premium, and they may require that a certain amount of these things are done. Now, we've seen this a lot of times from our insurance. It's even happened to ours, right? You close on the property, and all of a sudden they gave you an opinion, and then they drive by your property and they say, uh-oh, you got to fix that tree, or you got to fix this, or we need this, or we need a contractor's letter. So be on guard and make sure you're aware of that in your older home. And then, of course, your insects, your termites, your older homes could be a possibility. So get all that checked. Hope you enjoy a historic show. Memorial Day. I'd like to thank you for your time spending with us. We hope you and your family have a great one. Hug, love your little ones. They mean the world. And thank you for following us. It's an easiest number, 693-SOLD, 693-SOLD, or RyanColeman.org. You guys have a wonderful weekend.